Well, new developments in the Kawhi Leonard story today, with Pablo Torre reporting that Clippers minority owner Dennis Wong essentially made a late payment to the alleged no work for pay company set up for the Clipper star. Allegations the NBA is currently investigating. And of course, we're still talking about that here on HQ. And joining me now to discuss the latest here are David Samson, who is tapping in, has been part of the podcast as well, including this morning with the recent news there. David, what can you tell us about some of that recent development?
Well, Pablo called and said, hey, we'd like you to do another episode. So you go in, and part of Pablo Torre finds out is you don't know what exactly he's found out. So in real time, he shows me a document which shows someone named Dennis Wong investing $2 million into Aspiration, coincidentally 9 days prior to Kawhi getting paid $1.75 million. What's noteworthy is that the company had no money. And for the payment to go to Kawhi, why? There's so many other things they needed money for. The company was crumbling. And why Dennis Wong? Well, it turns out he's the vice chairman of the Clippers. He's Steve Ballmer's college roommate. He is the one minority owner of the Clippers, owning 1% of the team. He had never invested in Aspiration and chose December of 22 to throw $2 million into the wind, and that wind carried the $1.75 million into Kawhi's pocket. Yet more evidence that the NBA will have to go through as they investigate whether or not this was salary cap circumvention.
Speaking about the league, of course, Adam Silver had some comments about this whole situation. The commissioner of the league saying that the burden of proof is on the league to prove salary cap wrongdoing by the Clippers. When you hear that, you say what?
Well, remember, this is not a court of law. What's being alleged is not that Steve Ballmer broke any laws. And it's very possible that he did get scammed and was the victim of fraud, which is what he is saying, because the two co-founders of Aspiration did plead guilty. One of them did. One of them resigned. The other one pled guilty, and a board member did as well, to wire fraud. But two things can be true. It is possible that Steve Ballmer was the victim of a scam, but it's also possible that he had Aspiration give Kawhi Leonard $28 million in a no-show endorsement deal, which was a way out of market deal. And Adam Silver chose yesterday, because it was a Board of Governors meeting, which is like a quarterly owners meeting in baseball. And instead of just telling the media that there's an investigation, he decided to give some details, like a burden of proof conversation. And it is true the burden of proof is on the investigator in this case, which is the NBA, because Steve Ballmer's not going to walk in the door and say, yeah, I did it, unless that's part of a settlement discussion, which we can talk about. So it was not newsworthy to me that the burden of proof was on the NBA. What was newsworthy is that Adam Silver said anything at all, because the risk of saying something is that the next day there could be another podcast, another bit of evidence that shows that there was some weird stuff going on with the Clippers and with Dennis Wong, who obviously Adam Silver knows. Just like he must have known Aspiration, even though he said he had never heard of them. They're a huge sponsor, or were, of the Clippers. So there's just a lot of investigating that needs to happen, and it's going to take some time.
So, David, what are some of the next steps? Because, as you said, it's a little quirky, a little weird. This is unique for most of us at home. Of course, it's off season for the NBA. But in terms of Kawhi, the Clippers, Wong, and Ballmer, what are some of the next things that might unravel here throughout this time?
Well, I assume they're hitting refresh on their phone at 2 a.m. now every day, wondering when the next Pablo Torre podcast is going to drop, because the question the NBA is having is there more? Is it possible through our investigation that we'll find out stuff that even Pablo doesn't know, though he's got so many sources inside Aspiration, and he's got actual documentary evidence, which are bank statements and investor agreements, etc. But the NBA has to let Wachtell Lipton do its job, and because they have to let the public know and let the other owners know that they're taking this seriously, that salary cap circumvention is not something to be played with, because you have to have belief in every city that your team is operating under the same set of rules as every other team. So they're going to do the investigation, but Steve Ballmer right now is wondering to himself, I don't know what else is coming. Wink, wink. He knows exactly what he did. The question is, do I speak to Adam Silver? Do I talk about a possible punishment, how we can make a settlement, how we can make this go away? Because I have no information on this. I just know when my phone rings and it's Pablo, he's not calling to see how my kids are doing.
When it comes to all this, it seems like the responsibility now falls on the league to do something. As you mentioned, maybe suspension or a settlement. Is it now on the plate of Adam Silver to do something and not let this just muddle throughout the summer?
Now, that is a great question, because do you know that this season, it obviously starts soon. Media Day is coming up in a matter of weeks. Then it'll be NBA tip-off. And this is the start of a new media agreements with the new network and NBC doing stuff, and everyone's excited. And the All-Star game is in the Intuit Dome this year. And so do you really want this hanging over the NBA's head as we go through the winter and head toward All-Star weekend? There's a timing issue here, and in some ways it's in control of the NBA if the investigation gets done and they figure out a punishment. On the other hand, they could keep waiting for Pablo to find more stuff out and force the NBA's hand. And that's the push and pull that we always talk about within the league, with the media, is do we want to be in control? Yes. How do we keep control? By taking control of timing. And that's what the NBA is going to have to talk about and do right now.
We will see what happens the rest of this. David Samson, appreciate the updates in terms of all this Kawhi news. Don't forget, of course, when it comes to the association, as David said, we are getting closer to the season. But I want to take a look at those odds because it'll be here before you know it. But take a look at it for 2025-26. Who might be the champs? The Thunder at plus 210 and the Clippers sitting at 22-1 there. Outside of that, others who have been in the conversation, Cavs, Nuggets, Knicks, Rockets, and the Lakers, of course, at 15-1.